Alrighty, hi, welcome to Simpson College. Thank you for coming. We have such a great crowd tonight. My name is Abby Schulte. I'm the president of the Simpson College Democrats, and we're so happy to have you here for this event. I just want to start off by giving some thank yous. We wouldn't have been able to put this event on without the help of Seth Anderson and the John C. Culver Public Policy Center. And then all the staff at Simpson College in the conferences, audiovisual, facilities, catering, and security departments, and anybody else that I may have forgot, but they put a great amount of work into making this event possible, so thank you to them. And I'd also like to thank DMAC and Drake Dems, along with College and Young Democrats of Iowa, for helping host this event, and thank you to all of the candidates. I'll turn it over to our moderators to give you a little bit more of an introduction to this event. So thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Wow, this is a big crowd. Wow, okay. My name is Olivia Habank. I'm a co-moderator with Josh over there. And I'm the vice president of College and Young Dems of Iowa. And just to give a little bit of background of what we do, we have chapters statewide, mostly in colleges, and right now we're trying to build up our base. So if you are a Democrat, 36 or under, please, please, please either see one of us, see my comms director, Nick, who is standing right there, sitting, I guess. And we also have a sign-up sheet outside at the table. It's like the first thing you can see. And I just want to thank the candidates again because you guys have been so supportive of all the young Democrats in the 3rd District, and you've been with us since day one, so thank you.
All right, my name is Josh Hughes. I'm the president of the Drake Democrats, so I'm really excited to be here with Simpson Democrats and DMAC Dems co-hosting this forum. This is going to be a really good time. I'm going to talk a little bit about the way the forum is going to run, but before we get to that, I have seen a lot of people in here who have stepped up to run for office, not for Congress, but for lower offices, and I just want to take a moment to recognize all of those people. So if you're running for a local office, please stand and be recognized, and thank you for running for office. We have so much work to do in taking back our country, and it'll start at the local level. So thank you to those running for office. All right, so the way that we're going to run this forum is that each candidate is going to have several opportunities to speak and answer to different questions. Candidates will be allowed a 1-minute opening introduction, and each candidate will give that in reverse alphabetical order. So we're going to call them up in reverse alphabetical order to do that. The first 6 questions that we're going to be asking have all been selected from a Google form. We put out a call for questions, people to submit questions to us, and we got a really good response. So thank you to anybody who submitted questions. We've modified them and made them fit for time so that we have 6 substantive good questions for each of our candidates. Each of these questions will be answered by only 3 of the candidates. And the way that we've chosen those 3 is through a random name generator. And we've pre-selected these. So essentially, 3 candidates will answer question 1. The other 3 candidates will answer question 2. And then we start over for question 3. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes to give each one of these answers. And Abby, Olivia, and I are going to be trying to hold on to that down here with the time. So we'll try and get out of here on time. And then our 7th question has been selected from a student involved with Simpson Democrats as our host organization here. And they will be giving or asking that question to every one of the candidates. And they will be able to answer that for up to 1 minute. And then the 8th question will be answered by all 6 candidates, and it will also be their closing remarks, and they'll have up to 3 minutes to give that response. So we'll have plenty of time to hear each of the candidates and plenty of time to hear their thoughts on the issues. So without further ado, we're going to come off this stage. We're going to start calling up candidates for introduction. Thank you all for being here. The first candidate in reverse alphabetical order is Eddie Morrow.
Well, thank you. College Democrats, first of all, remarkable group of young people. Our future is really bright, isn't it? I want to thank Simpson College for hosting this event. I know this campus very well. I was a student here once upon a time. Lived down in Barker Hall, ate many dinners at Pfeiffer. I was a captain of the baseball team, an all-conference baseball player. But it was a college professor who taught me about the value of government. And if we use government right, we can change the world. Little did Professor Epperson know that he set me off on a path that brings me back here tonight. You see, I'm here because I believe each one of you and your classmates of every race, every sexual orientation, every identity, every gender, every creed, and every financial condition deserves to know that the best possible world awaits you. And I'm here to help discuss how we're going to make that happen here tonight. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Paul Knupp.
It's actually Knupp.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My apologies.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you tonight. I'm glad that the College Democrats has hosted this event and invited all 6 of us to it. Unfortunately, last week, 2 of my competitors, Eddie Morrow and Teresa Greenfield, tried to arrange future debates that eliminated me and Austin Frerick. They called Cindy and Pete to get them to agree to this, and both of them told them, no way, we are not going to do that. And so that's why I'm happy to be here tonight, that we get a chance to participate fully in the democratic process. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Teresa Greenfield.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Greenfield, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. I'm thrilled at the hard work you've been doing, and I'm excited about the future of our Democratic Party because we're seeing it right here. But we're also seeing it here tonight on the stage because our Democratic Party needs leaders like me, leaders like these other candidates to go forward. I'll tell you what this fight is about. When I decided to get in this race, I thought if citizen leaders don't stand up to run, we're never going to change things in Washington, D.C. And I'll tell you what, the decisions that are made out in Washington, D.C., they're too important. They affect our lives. And I'll tell you a little bit throughout the night about how it's affected mine. And as I travel around this district, I hear stories every day about how it affects yours. Whether it's high cost of health care, high cost of education, jobs. Those are the things that hardworking families around this district are worried about. And those are the things that I'll be focused on when I serve you in Washington, D.C. So I'm looking forward to your questions, and thanks for organizing tonight's event.
Our next candidate is Austin Frerick.
Do we have assigned seats? Nope.
Hey everyone, I'm Austin Frerick, and I'm here to talk about the word monopoly again. I believe that economic concentration is the issue of our time. We're living in a second Gilded Age where the middle class is disappearing and the rich are getting richer and richer, and it's all caused by this monopoly power. Now, I didn't realize this at first, and it's not obvious, but I didn't realize it until I was an economist at the U.S. Department of Treasury. Take eyeglasses, go up to Jordan Creek. You'll see Sunglass Hut, Pearl Vision, LensCrafter, Sears Optical, Target Optical, and Glasses.com. It's all one company. Go to Fairway. You'll see one company sells 47% of pet food. One company sells 73% of baby food. By the way, same company, Nestle. The American meat industry is now more concentrated than when Upton Sinclair wrote The Jungle. And this concentration impacts you in 4 ways. Number 1, higher cost. You pay more. Point number 2, lower wages. 3, corruption. 4, respect. And I hope to earn your vote. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Pete D'Alessandro to the stage.
Mike is live, Paul, remember that. Got this in front of me because I want to make sure I get it right. Abby, Olivia, Josh, and Nick. Where's Nick? Thanks for everything you guys did to put this thing together. You know, I've been organizing for over 25 years, so I know the effort it takes, I know the commitment it takes, and I certainly know when I look in a room like this, the success that you guys must feel tonight. So good job on that. We've got a lot of work to do. I think as progressives and as Democrats, if we're going to move this country not just to the point where Democrats are trying to win elections, but where Democrats are trying to win the future. You know, I have a long time in organizing, and one of my old bosses, Paul Wellstone, used to say, politics isn't about the money, it isn't about power, and it isn't about winning for just the sake of winning. It's about doing right by people. I want to thank you for what you're doing tonight. This is what democracy looks like. I'd like to make a commitment with everyone here that we do at least one of these in every county in the district before the primary day. Let's make this happen. If we stand shoulder to shoulder as Democrats and progressives, I know we can make the will of the people the law of this land. Thank you.
Please welcome Cindy Axtee to the stage.
Well, hi, everybody. What a great crowd here. This is so exciting. I want to thank the College and Young Dems for helping to put this together. What a wonderful night. I'm so appreciative. I'm Cindy Axtee, and I'm running for the United States Congress to beat David Young. I'm a fifth-generation Iowan, a mom and a small business owner, and I have roots in Warren County. My mom's actually from a farm just down the road here, just outside of Milo. My parents met the old-fashioned way at a church picnic, and they taught my sisters and I to help our friends and family, but to help others in need, because when our community does well, then we all thrive. And they taught us to stand up for what's right and to fight back against injustice, even when it meant standing up to people more powerful than me. And that's how I've tried to live my life. It's why I spent my career at the state of Iowa, helping to bring good jobs to the people here in Iowa and give a voice to those who don't have one. Give them a seat at the table. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because right now, nobody in Washington is looking out for our corner of Iowa, and we need a voice. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the question portion. Just a reminder, for the first 6 questions, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. The first question will be answered by, in this order, Eddie Morrow, Teresa Greenfield, and Cindy Axtee. The question is, this may or may not apply to all candidates, but if you have children, did you send them to public or private schools? Why or why not? And we'll start with Eddie.
You know, when I left Simpson College, my first job was as a teacher and a coach. So I spent a number of years in both public and private schools. Had a lot of successes down in Seymour, Iowa, and Wayne County. Coached here at St. Anthony's and at Dowling High School and at Lincoln and North High School. So I got a good foundation of both. I think there's a good opportunity for both public and private schools. But right now we're heading down a path that's way out of whack in the balance there. Our private school brothers and sisters seem to be getting the leg up on our current Republican friends, both at the state and federal level. And that goes against everything that this country is about. So we need to support our public schools. We need to make sure that our public schools are strong in our rural communities, in our urban communities, and our suburban communities. Because what we're doing with our schools is jeopardizing, especially our rural areas. That is the leading employer in many of our communities. Those are some of our best and brightest people in those communities. That's the cultural mecca in some of those communities. I've been to Red Oak and Clarinda and Creston Atlantic and Anita, Shenandoah, Glenwood, and many others. There's some beautiful communities there. And if we starve those schools, we might as well starve those rural communities. Friday night football, basketball on Tuesdays and Fridays, baseball and softball in the summer, the arts, band, theater, those things are all in jeopardy. Where would I send my kids to school? I would send my kids to school where I think would be best for them. I don't think it's an either or. I'm a product of both. I don't think that's the debate that we want to get into. The debate is how do we make sure that all of our schools are strong. This should be the envy of the country again, and it's not. And we're dropping the ball, both by David Young and his actions and by our state legislators. Thank you very much.
Public schools are the backbone of our economy. They are where we prepare every single child, give every child a chance to be their very best, to reach their ultimate potential. It's where we have every child have a chance for graduating from high school and being ready to go into the workforce, being ready to get some additional education, whether it's career or technical training, or go on to a four-year college. And I'll tell you what, when I serve you in Congress, my top priority will be to make sure that our schools are well equipped, that our teachers have the resources they need, and that our students are prepared for school on day one. So I'll support in making investments in Title I, which the current Republican administration intends to cut with their draconian budget. I'll support Head Start, kindergarten, pre-K, all of those programs that make sure every child is ready to go when they start. But I will tell you this, it's not a competition between schools. It's to make sure that public school dollars are spent at public schools and that the resources are there for absolutely every child, regardless of their zip code, regardless of what their parents earn or don't earn, regardless of their sex, regardless of the color of their skin. And that's what I'm going to support when I'm in Washington, D.C. As for me and my family, we did a little of both. We had a child with a brain injury, and at the time when he was looking at high school, our high school, public high school, was in crisis because the elected leaders were not funding it. And I moved him to a small private school where he had a class size of 20 and got to know many, many people. And I'm delighted that I did that. But I would not support taking public dollars for private schools. So, thank you so much for the question, and I look forward to the next one.
Well, I'm a mom of two teenage boys that are at Valley High School and Stillwell Junior High, two great public schools, and I'm really proud of that. That's right. As a matter of fact, I had enrolled my older son, Gunnar, in kindergarten. He's now a sophomore, so this was about 15 years ago. And about 30 days before he started school, we received a letter that said he lost a lottery. Well, that's when I found out that every other kid in West Des Moines School District, one of the biggest school districts in our state, lost a lottery and didn't get the opportunity for all-day kindergarten. So I got busy. I rolled up my sleeves and went to work, and it took about 8 months working through the administration to make sure that every single kid had opportunity in that next year for all-day kindergarten. And I've got pretty sharp elbows when it comes to doing the right thing. And when we had one meeting left where this needed to be passed and they needed to approve it for all the kids in the next grade, I put together the data on the subject matter inequity, presented it to the board, and said, you've got to get this changed for the kids next year, or I'm going to take this information to the head of the Department of Education and the Des Moines Register and let them know you're just not living up to this district's expectations and you're failing its kids and its families. Well, they passed it. That superintendent's one of my big supporters because he knows when it comes to our public schools, I'm not going to stop until every kid has equal opportunity. And I can tell you that's what I'll do in Congress. I'll make sure that we protect our teachers and their resources. They are woefully underfunded at this point, and they're being asked to do more with less. So we need to protect those resources. I also want to bring back trades programs, apprenticeships, and internships into our high schools so our kids have every opportunity to progress in the area that they would like to. Because I firmly believe that our public schools are the equalizer for everybody to have opportunity in this world. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. Our next question goes to the other three gentlemen who did not answer the first question. And the question will be asked to Mr. Knupp, Austin Frerick, and Pete D'Alessandro in that order. The question is, according to the nonprofit Every Town for Gun Safety, about 96 Americans are killed every day as a result of gun violence. Please share your thoughts on this evident mass shooting epidemic in our country and what you plan to do about it. Mr. Knupp goes first.
That's a good statistic. Actually, per year, last year, 13,286 people were killed by gun violence, and 26,819 were injured. So that's pretty horrendous. Actually, for those, there's 1,500 children under the age of 18 killed every year. And that's a significant statistic. And 1 out of 3 children grow up with a gun in their house. So what would I do? I'm all for disarming gun violence as much as possible. Those statistics are just not acceptable to me. So I would favor a federal buyback program where we buy back handguns. The only reason a handgun exists is to shoot another human being, another person. And that's where I would start, is to buy back, have a massive federal program. And those buyback programs have worked somewhat on a local or citywide level. But this would be something I'd like to do for the whole 3rd district, and buy back handguns and start with that as a way to put a dent in this. We have to change our psyche from one of a warring, gun-toting, Wild West group of people to a civilized, caring, loving, nurturing, supporting people. And I think guns have been shown in psychological studies to provoke violence just by being there. So that would be my main motivation for eliminating those. So thank you.
There's one statistic in this conversation that really sticks out to me. It's that 84% of gun deaths in Iowa last year, according to the CDC, were caused by suicide. They're usually older men, and they're usually farmers and veterans. Iowa's on the verge of another farm crisis. It's pretty clear in the data we're near that point. Once you frame the conversation around mental health and it's a lot easier to talk about withholding periods. It's also another reason why I support Medicare for all, because we also need to treat mental health is the same as physical health. But this conversation, this is really important. You're seeing gun suicide. Farmers have the highest suicide rate of any profession in this country. And it's, especially with the NAFTA conversations going on, things are getting more and more fragile. With the Fed, with the stock market right now. Guns, we do need gun reform, but I think this is how we, as Democrats, should talk about this conversation, as a conversation over mental health access and doing what's best to reduce this. Because what happens is, farming is more than just a career. You have your family legacy on top of you. And when you can barely make it, we saw this in the farm crisis in '85. So that was a record peak of farm suicide. And with that debt burden over your head, it's a lot. But when you have a withholding period, you have access, you have that sudden urge, and you can get that mental health care. But part of right now is with the marketplace collapsing because of President Trump and his cronies, people can't get that care. So, it all fits together in a bigger picture. Thanks again for that question. And yeah, I rest my time.
Good. This is one of the reasons I love these type of forums, because it forces individual candidates, in this case myself, to go out of your comfort zone a little bit and to look some things up, which is going to make me a better candidate, but because of this we become better public servants. And so I'm going to answer this question a little different, but get to the same end point. This country has 266 privately owned guns. 266 million privately owned guns in this country. 133 million of them are owned by 3% of the people. 2/3 of Americans, though, live in gun-free homes. A lot of people wouldn't realize that when we hear all these stories about guns. 64% of Americans, when asked the question, do we need stricter gun control, said yes. When broken down, that's 83% of Democrats, 58% of independents, 49%, almost half of Republicans say we need stricter gun control laws. 80% are for background checks, 87% for closing the gun show loophole. This question is about campaign finance reform. We are not going to be able to get rid of all the guns and solve these problems until we get rid of this rigged system. And the only way to do it is to elect people, and I know the other folks on this stage are for that, is to elect people that will stand against Citizens United, get rid of that rigged system so that we can address this issue. David Young received the fourth most money of any congressman in the country from the NRA. And the guy right behind him received half as much as he did. He is the problem in these type of situations, because as long as the NRA and organizations like them and their sponsored congressmen like David Young are in control, we will never even be able to address this problem, let alone solve it. Thank you.
The next question will be answered by these three candidates in the following order: Teresa Greenfield, Eddie Mauro, and Austin Furrick. The question is, between severe cuts in funding at the state level and attacks from individuals such as Betsy DeVos at the federal level, Iowa students from kindergarten to colleges are under attack. Specific to higher education, what will you do in Congress to ensure that all forms of post-secondary education, from trade schools to community colleges to state and private universities, will be viable options for Iowa families?
Well, college just costs too much. Back when I was a kid, growing up in the farm crisis, graduated from high school in 1982, and I chose to go to community college because, one, it was affordable, it was close by, and it had lots of options, from liberal arts to technical programs, career readiness opportunities. And I'll tell you, back then, a scrappy farm girl like me, you could get a job as a waitress at Pizza Hut, which I did, and you could make enough money to pay your rent, buy food, pay your tuition, buy your books, get a beer on Friday night. And you just can't do that anymore, not even at community college. So we have a problem. And the problem has been that we haven't invested enough in our education, whether it's K through 12, whether it's career readiness, whether it's college bound. So when I'm in Congress, I absolutely going to support extending Pell Grants, funding programs like loan forgiveness. We need to talk about how we allow our current students to refinance their debt. Right now, college student debt is at $1.4 trillion, and it exceeds credit card debt. I talked to a young man this weekend down in Fremont County. He has $42,000 worth of debt, and he's working, living at home at a job that makes $35,000 a year. What we've done by our policy decisions for the last 20 years has hamstringed an entire generation of young adults and prisoned them to enormous amounts of debt that will keep them from buying homes and starting their families. How much time? I didn't see it. For those that aren't going to four-year school, absolutely, career and technical colleges. My first husband was a lineman for the power company and a member of the union. Let's make sure those opportunities are available to our children so everyone thrives, everyone has the opportunity to earn a living wage, provide for their families, and have their American dream.
These first three questions all go hand in hand. Gun violence, public education, college education are all interrelated. It is very important, again, and we talked about this early on, that we talk about the philosophy that's in front of us. It's not just these issues. The overriding philosophy is, what kind of theory do we have of governance? Right now we have a party in power that's all about themselves, it's all about today, it's a self-centered focus that's all about the rich and the powerful. And then we have a Democrat Party that's trying to come back, that's trying to tell us it's about the people, it's about these young kids, it's about those that are really struggling in our communities. college education needs to be affordable. When I graduated from college, I had $10,000 worth of debt, paid it off pretty easy. Now people have tens of thousands worth of debt, hundreds of thousands worth of debt, and they're just set up for failure. We just gave away the biggest tax break to corporations that was not needed in an economy that didn't need it, and now we're looking at punishing these kids that are having trouble paying this debt. If you look at the latest Trump budget proposal, he's going to punish those people. He's going to take away $500 million from the Pell Grant Fund. He's going to slash other education matters that help people get higher education. He has no interest in our vocational and apprenticeship programs, nor in lifelong learning. Their whole processes take us backwards to a time that doesn't exist anymore. I'm here today because we need to move forward. We need to move forward with the 21st education strategy. Want to make sure that college is affordable and accessible for everybody, regardless of their race or their socioeconomic background. We need to make sure we have an apprenticeship and vocational education program that's far and wide. It's pretty good in some of our metro areas. It needs to be stronger in our rural communities as well. And lifelong learning, as this economy changes and evolves, so we can train and retrain hardworking Iowans perpetually as this economy moves forward. Thank you very much.
I always have to laugh because I feel like when I stump, I'm like the doomy and gloomy candidate because I always talk about monopolies. But I'm really hopeful about this moment because that first Gilded Age produced the progressive movement. And if we seize this second Gilded Age moment, we can get that second progressive movement. And a key component is rethinking our social compact. And universal tuition-free college is one of those planks, including from paid leave, which every other country, developed country in the world, has paid leave and we don't. From childcare needs to be rethought in this country to, taking Cindy's idea and doing pre-K for everybody. This whole social compact needs to change. And I think I'm probably the only one on the stage with student debt. That is, I went, yeah, sorry. I was very fortunate. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. I went to Grinnell, didn't know what it was. My mom talked me into it. On a Friday, I was like, sure, I'll go miss a day of school. I worked 4 jobs. I did everything right, and I still have a lot of debt. And I know, Teresa, I don't know if you remember this, Teresa, but we were in Red Oak last fall, and we were both, we kind of know each other's stump at this point, and you have that joke about getting hitched. And I always giggle, I laugh at that point because I'm in that pickle right now. My partner has a house worth of debt. He went to law school. I don't even want to tell you the number. It's a funny number. So it's like, do we pay for a wedding? Because I want a big wedding. We're having that argument too. Do we pay for that down payment, the child, the student debt? It's crippling. It's severely crippling. Iowa, I believe, has the 8th highest debt in our country. To quote Art Cullen, Iowa's largest exports are our soil and college-educated youth. When we load kids up with that debt, you're like, you want to live by your parents. You want that free daycare. But when you have that debt, that job in Minneapolis pays you more. I've seen it play out with the people I went to high school with. This is such an important issue. But let's seize this moment and expect more out of you, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, candidates. Our 4th question will be answered by Paul Knupp, Pete D'Alessandro, and Cindy Axney in that order. And the question is, with commodity prices low and farm inputs such as seed, fertilizer, and land high, many Iowa farmers are struggling. As a member of Congress from Iowa, you will have considerable input for the next farm bill. What are your priorities for that farm bill, and will you work to ensure addressing climate change as part of that discussion? Mr. Knupp?
Yes, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is, in Congress, we can influence the farm bill that comes out of Congress, and I think we need to, for the temporary time, pay a lot more attention to ethanol. It's not the overall long-term solution, but it's a good short-term solution, since diesel fuel is our #1 pollutant in the state. We need to cut that drastically to lower our emissions. The other farm things is I'm totally opposed to CAFOs, the hog confinement, big corporation outfits. All they do is ruin our water. You can count on them for that. And it hurts the family farm by taking the hogs off the local family farm and confining them into these large corporate operations. So that's another one thing that could be addressed in a farm bill. Also, I would not give insurance, crop insurance, to mega farms that are over 2,400 acres. We want to keep the crop insurance for the small farmers and the medium-sized farmers of 231 acres or 1,084 acres. We want to make sure we support them and keep them thriving. So those are some policies that I would put into place. I also would like to see the government buy farms on the market that have no other people interested in them, so that we buy them and hold them in abeyance for future farmers that can rent them or buy them and pay it off as they actually farm them. So those are some policies for the future. Thank you.
Before I get into this, something Austin said is, I too remember, I was the first one in my family to go to college, and I remember the pride in my dad's eye the day that my brother John became the first member of my family to graduate from college. So
I love that joke.
I'm gonna do something you're not supposed to do in a forum like this. I'm gonna look at an opponent and say, I want to thank Austin for again opening my eyes to an issue, to making me look at it deeper, because I have watched him throughout this district at other forums like this talk about this issue and talk about it with strength and how it should be talked about. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you will. Just 4 corporations in this country control 80% of the nation's beef cattle market, 85% the soybean processing, and 63% of pork processing. Yeah. There's 300,000 less family farmers than there were just 20 years ago. But here's where we can do something with the Farm Bill. The top 10% of farms collect 75% of the farm subsidies, while the bottom 62 don't receive any subsidies at all. That's inverted to what government subsidies are supposed to be. Regardless of whether it's agriculture or these other things, we're supposed to be helping those that need the most help. So as a congressman, not only would I try to reverse that process, I'll fight for small and mid-sized farms, but here's another one that's important, and it's a little off of the question specifically. We've got to oppose these terrible trade agreements that for a generation now, like NAFTA, have opened up markets that have hurt American farmers because they have to compete with countries that don't have the same standards we do. The simple fact of the matter is, and I hate to sound like a broken record, it's campaign finance reform again, folks. As long as Monsanto's and the Tysons of the world have a bigger say than you do, this isn't going to change.
Well, I spent my career as a public servant at the state of Iowa under 3 governors, and actually worked a couple years into the Branstad administration, left the state in 2014. So I was there when they were working on the Farm Bill in my position at the Department of Natural Resources. I was a division administrator. And I've been heavily working with people since then, as I've started down this road, to figure out what we could do differently with the Farm Bill. I know very well that when we tried to present it at the DNR, that the Farm Bureau had to see it before it could go over to Branstad's desk. That's just wrong. And that's where, just like Pete said, large corporations and special interests are buying our democracy. So they didn't care about water quality. They didn't care about the issues that they were passing on to Iowans. What I'd like to see in the Farm Bill is that we protect our water and we protect our environment. I know that most Iowans, Iowa farmers, small farmers and mid-sized farmers, they're pretty good stewards of our environment. It really is when we start looking at farms that are owned from out of state, large farms, and CAFOs, where we don't have the opportunity to really regulate how they're messing with our environment. So I want to make sure, just like Pete and Austin both mentioned, that we give our small farms opportunity. I want to make sure that we hold our farmers accountable for environmental issues. So if they're going to be receiving subsidies from federal government, then they need to comply with the Clean Water Act, and they need to make sure that they have the structures in place to keep our waterways clean. I also had the opportunity to direct the governor's agenda on clean energy and the environment at the state of Iowa, helping us to bring in the wind industry and move us towards energy independence and put a lot of people to work in the process. So one of the other things I'll be working on with the Farm Bill is making sure that we bring those opportunities here to Iowa, not just in wind and in solar, but in soil health, carbon sequestration, and water quality to improve on our environment and create jobs in the process. Thank you.
The next question will be answered by Austin Furrick, Paul Knupp, and Teresa Greenfield in that order. The question is, although Republicans failed to deliver on their promise to repeal the Affordable Care Act in its entirety, too many Americans still struggle to find health care that is affordable and accessible. What will you do to ensure that every American is able to see a doctor when they need to, and do you support a single-payer option?
Yes. At this point, I have little leeway for Democrats who can't say I support single payer. You have 10 federal health care programs: Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, community health centers, Indian Health Service, TRICARE, VA, premium tax credits, health savings account, and employer-based health care. 10. Imagine having a household and those interact. I was in the tax policy office at Treasury, and we did the marketplace. The IRS exists to collect your money. It does not exist to do welfare. Anyone who's been through Medicaid, all the red tape, and we've seen what's going on right now. But also part of this health conversation, and it ties to agriculture, is I want to talk about Earl Butz. Earl Butz served as the Secretary of Agriculture for, we love our history. He served as Secretary of Ag under President Nixon and Ford. And he took a pitchfork to the New Deal policies that managed supply. By the way, these policies were enacted because we saw what happened with the Dust Bowl when all you do is care about volume. He told farmers to get big or go home and plant your plant your commodity crops from fence row to fence row. The obesity epidemic in this country is a result of that. 6% of Iowa adults get enough vegetables in their diet. This whole conversation over water is because of Earl Butz. Farmers have to push their land to save their land. I don't think we as a state realize what $7 corn did. So much land, especially in southwest Iowa, was pulled out of CRP. And so much grazing land too. And the third part too, so we got health, environment, and the rural communities. The hollowing out. When 10 farms growing diverse products consolidate into one farm, growing corn and soy year after year, it hollows out. Cass County, home of Atlantic, has the same population last year as it had in 1870. And then we're talking about driverless cars. We've got to talk about driverless tractors and what that's going to mean for Iowa. And then ethanol, cars are also moving to batteries. What's going to happen to that 40% of ethanol going there? So yes, I support single payer. To go back, I love tangents, but yes, single payer. Thank you.
I'm going to start where Austin left off. Yes, single payer, expanded Medicare for all Americans. Expanded Medicare. Right now it doesn't cover dental or vision. We need to expand it to include that for everybody. So that's a given. The bill's already been in Congress, H.R. 678. They just can't get the votes. So we're trying, but if you send enough Democrats back there, then we'll be able to carry the day. Austin brought up a little earlier, I wanted to include mental health coverage too. My vision for our district is a free federal mental health and substance abuse clinic in every county of the 3rd district. We have to have that. We're last in the nation. We're going to flip that to be first in the nation. I work at the Broadlawns Medical Center inpatient unit, SANS, where you get locked up until they tell you can leave. That's where I work, and we handle mental health and substance abuse, both. And I have seen the miracle that science can do with those problems. So we just need to be set up to do it. And there's plenty of money to accomplish that. We've spent, Brown University tells us, $1.1 trillion in the Iraq War. Well, that war is over. So where's all that money? It should be available for us to do social programs, I think. Okay.
Healthcare is the number one topic I hear as I travel around the district. And the issues can range from cost, whether that's an individual plan or the lack of them, whether it's from small businesses who are concerned about the cost. I hear about prescription drugs and the high cost. I hear about access. I hear about rural hospitals and their concern that they're going to close. I'll tell you what, we've got an uphill battle. We have an administration that doesn't believe, like we believe, that everyone has the right to health care. Everyone in this country has the right to health care. And so we've got to get back to work. Number one, we have to continue to stop any repeal and replace of the ACA, because we still have a long time left with this president, and they're going to continue to attack it. Two, we need to win back the House of Representatives, and that's what I'm here to do. And I'll tell you, once we're there, we have to fix the ACA. So many people received eligibility through that program, millions of Americans, whether it was someone with a pre-existing condition, whether it's women's preventative health care. The list was long, and those benefits need to continue. And finally, when we have control, we need to work for a universal health care program for everyone. That means ACA, a public option on top of it, Medicaid for more, Medicaid for all, or, and yes, even a single-payer plan. Most important, to have any of this happen, we have to unite this fall, win this district back, and take back the House of Representatives in 2018.
All right, our sixth question will be asked to Cindy Axney, Pete D'Alessandro, and Eddie Morrow in that order. And the question is, Republicans assert that their recently passed tax reform bill will lead to unprecedented economic growth that will grow income for families, despite the fact that the bill's tax cuts for families were temporary while the corporate cuts were permanent. How will you counter false Republican messaging that this law is a win for working families, and what policies will you push in Congress to replace the GOP's tax scam?
Well, that's about right. It is a tax scam. Right now, the Republican tax plan isn't working for Iowans. It's definitely working for corporations and millionaires, but middle-class families are being left behind. This is absolutely something we need to address. I'm a small business owner. My husband and I own a small digital design firm. We do website work and things like that. And I'm a mom. I mentioned earlier I have 2 teenage boys. So I certainly understand the struggles that our families face here in Iowa. When I get to Congress, I want to make sure that our middle-class families and our small businesses have opportunity over our corporations and the wealthy. So I'll look at our small businesses and make sure that they've got better tax incentives, better tax breaks, and make sure that they have access to affordable health care and access to capital. I also want to help our middle-class families by lowering their tax rate and making sure that we have higher deductions for things like child care expenses, which are incredibly costly. I think at one time, and I remember, and my kids are now 13 and 15, I was paying $20,000 in child care expenses at one of their most expensive years. And that's grown in the last 15 years. So this is unaffordable. But the first thing that we need to do when we get out to Congress and we flip this House is that we need to overturn this Republican tax bill. Because just like Josh said, it is helping the corporations and the millionaires put more money in their pockets on a permanent basis while giving middle-class families a short-term gain and letting us think that they're actually getting something out of this. So I'll make sure that we address that so our middle-class families have success. Thank you.
The first thing I would do is throw a little bit of that history that Austin talked about on folks. The Republicans called it supply side when Herbert Hoover tried it. They called it trickle down when Ronald Reagan tried it. I don't even know what they called it when George Bush 1 and 2 tried it. But back then, I can honestly tell you, when I both studying it and starting my career, I used to say, you know, my Republican friends, they just see it differently. They actually think this is going to work. So we have to debate them on why it won't. History has shown us it doesn't work. And we have to leave that argument aside now. Because I think it's sad to say that they know it won't work. They know it doesn't trickle down. They know supply side doesn't work. They know that most of the people in this room, if not all of the people in this room, are benefiting nothing from it. Because they're not there for you. That's not what they're there to serve. Yeah, there's a working family. I can think of one working family that's going to do real well with this tax bill. The Waltons. They're getting a $2.2 billion tax cut. The owners of Walmart. They don't care about us. Their policies aren't directed at us. And so we need to look folks in the eye and be clear about that this is not a debate about what will work or what won't work. It's a debate about who you want it to work for. And that's the type of tax policy we need to work for. And we need to look them right in the eye and say we are going to battle them as hard as we can, every step of the way that we can, to make sure that working people are what are out front when we do tax policy, and not the Waltons, and not the rich, and not the folks that they do it for. They don't think it works for us. Let's make that clear. And it doesn't work for us. We have to make it work for us. And that's what I would try to do as a United States Congressman.
They know it doesn't work. It's a game of deception. School choice is a game of deception. This tax reform bill is a game of deception. And when I left education, I took over a small family business, and I've grown it into a multi-million-dollar international operation. I employ 40-plus people from coast to coast and travel this country and travel this world, working with small business owners of every kind. In order to grow a business, I would hire an employee because I had more product to sell. Not because you gave me more money. You give me more money, I'm going to do just what's going on right now. I'm going to go buy back more stock. And I'm going to keep buying back more stock. That's what people are going to do when they give me money. You give me $100,000, that doesn't make me need to add an employee. I need to add an employee because I have more production. Somebody's buying more of my product, and I need to add an employee from the ground up. So they snowball us. They know it. They've looked us in the eye, and they've lied to us about health care, about education, about tax reform, about infrastructure. This is more than just about taxes, and I keep talking about that. This is about a theory, a philosophy of governance. And we need to turn back the clock on a group of self-centered, selfish souls that have stolen our government. And as soon as we do that, we can address these issues. This is more than just about taxes. It's also about the economy. We need to make sure we have meaningful, fulfilling, rewarding 21st century jobs. We need to make sure that we are telling the truth about why jobs have left. Not immigration, not globalization, robots, automation, artificial intelligence. That's where jobs have gone, and that's where the new jobs are going to be. And if we put all those things together, we talk about a strong 21st century economy, we can go and reform, do true reform of this tax bill, and take America forward. That's where we need to go again. Thank you very much.
Okay, for our next question, I'm going to turn it over to Simpson student Cecilia Martinez.
Hello. Thank you all for being here, first of all. So my question is, how would you fix our broken immigration system, and what solution do you see for the 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country and the 3,000 undocumented immigrants in Iowa?
So we'll just go down the line here, and each of you have up to 1 minute to answer this question.
1 minute to solve that issue?
Sorry.
You must have to study tonight. So in addition to being a teacher and a coach and a business owner, I was a founding member of a community organization known as Amos. And one of our first activities was on immigration. We worked up at the State House on the DREAM Act, on driver's licenses, on making sure that we took good care of our undocumented friends so that they were not taken advantage of by labor or by employers. And then we put them on a pathway, and we've been fighting that ever since. I've been asked to speak in committee meetings in front of our governors, in front of congressional delegations on that issue. And this is a no-brainer. What's really troubling, again, when I look at a group of people on the other side of the aisle, and they tell me I'm for life, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, and you're going to tell me this is how you're going to treat God's children? This is how you're going to treat God's people? I'm looking forward to having a debate with David Young on values. I really am. Because we're going to kick his butt when it comes to value conversations about immigration and health care and education and every other issue we've talked about here tonight. Thank you very much.
We made a promise to 800,000 Americans that if they came in out of the shadows, if they did everything right, that we would protect them. And it's time Congress did their work, passed comprehensive immigration reform, providing a pathway to citizenship for not only our DACA recipients, but for all of our law-abiding, undocumented immigrants. And it needs to be a priority. These are family members, they are friends, they're members of our community, they're our co-workers, and we absolutely need to stand up every day and fight on their behalf. And I intend to do that when I'm in Washington, D.C. Nothing could be more personal. I have immigrants in my family also, and I see the destruction when families are separated and the long, arduous process to try to bring them back together. And that's not who we are as Americans, and it's not who we are as Iowans. So I'll be working hard on comprehensive immigration reform.
I had the opportunity to attend the Latino awards banquet about 3 weeks ago, and when we were there, a couple of young people who were dreamers actually received awards. These are kids who grew up in the Des Moines area, whose families are from there, who went to school there, and they're now in jobs, and they're taxpayers, and they're contributing so much back to our communities now that they're being awarded for it. These are our dreamers. They are our neighbors, they are our kids, and they need opportunity. So I'll make sure that we pass the Dreamers Act, and we do that quickly, because our kids need to have the opportunity for full citizenship. But I absolutely will support immigration reform. We need to make sure that our undocumented immigrants come out from the shadows, because they're being treated inappropriately in a lot of the workplaces, and I want to make sure that that stops. So I'll make sure that we have good immigration reform so that all of our undocumented immigrants have a pathway to citizenship. Thank you.
So about a month ago, we put our campaign website in Spanish, and I wanted to post on Facebook naming the person's name who did it for us. As I was about to do it, I found out that this person is a dreamer. I've always believed in dreamers, path citizenship, but when you hear that, it really humanizes it in a way that I have to be even careful using gendered pronouns when I talk about this person. On a different note, one of the coolest things I've ever did is I spent a summer at Grinnell. My thesis was on slaughterhouse towns in Iowa. They're modern day company towns. This will always be a hard job, but these used to be a good middle class job. Actually, both my grandpas used to work at Wilson's in Cedar Rapids. Tyson's got a monopoly, and it busted those jobs. And now those people are getting by on one of the hardest jobs ever at $11 an hour. You had kids up in Postville working third shift and going to school. What I love about my monopoly message, though, is it validates anger that fueled Trump, redirects in a non-nationalistic, non-xenophobic way. Because Trump is going to blame the immigrants. I'm going to blame Tyson's. So thank you. Oh my God, so sorry, Sandeep.
Ms. Martinez, in my time in Iowa, I've been the sponsor and resettled 32 refugees, Asian and Cuban and Kosovar. So I have a firm commitment to the immigrant population. One of my grandsons, born in Iowa, his name is Drake Escobedo. So this is personal with me. One of my main jobs, I feel, in Congress is to give citizenship for every undocumented person we have in the country. That's my goal. So I'll see what I can get done. I don't look at people that are undocumented as criminals or unworthy to be here. It's just the opposite. Wonderful people who deserve citizenship. So thank you for asking that question.
Every now and then we're faced with an issue, and I think we have more of them right now than ever before, but every now and then we're faced with an issue that we're deciding as a people what our government is going to be about, but we're also deciding what kind of people we are. And how we answer this question is how they're going to judge us in history of the type of people we are. Look, we're all agreeing up here because it's pretty obvious. Dreamers, DACA recipients, path to citizenship. What we need to start doing is be unequivocal and clearly say and call it what it is. They are Americans. They're the best of us. They've served in our military. They've started businesses. They've played by the rules. They've done everything they were supposed to do. That is what we expect out of Americans. We need to do everything we can to embolden that, to welcome them. And I will say this, I agree with Paul, but one thing we can do, I think, and we can talk to our conservative friends about this, if you served in this military, you had your path to citizenship, and we should be standing for that as loud as we can, everywhere we can.
Thank you to all of the candidates for all of your answers tonight. Our final question will be asked to all of you in alphabetical order, since we began with reverse alphabetical. And our final question is a simple one. How will you beat David Young, considering the fact that no matter who wins the nomination, it's going to be an uphill fight? So, considering the traits that you believe makes a good candidate, why do you think that you are best positioned to defeat our incumbent congressman, beginning with Cindy Axne? You have 3 minutes for this one, too. Please incorporate your closing remarks
All
as
right,
well.
thank you. Well, I think it's important that we point out that David Young just isn't working for Iowans. Right? Absolutely. Even the Des Moines Register pointed out that he's more interested in kowtowing to his political party's leadership than standing up for his constituents. I think we saw that in his recent health care vote, when he literally lied to Iowans and he told them that he would vote against the health care bill, and then in the middle of the night, turned around and voted for it due to political party leadership, leaving tens of thousands of Iowans with no insurance carrier. My family was one of those that received the letter from Aetna saying, we're pulling out of this market. And then Medica stepped in at a rate that nobody can afford. This guy's not working for Iowans, and as a matter of fact, when that happened, he took a check from Aetna. So we need to point that out at every single turn, that David Young is a career politician who spent his life in Washington and is working for corporations and special interests. The other way that I'm going to beat David Young is by being in this district and being present. We have made it a priority for our campaign to be out around this district from day one. I have traveled to every county multiple times. We held our 65th meet and greet just the other day. And we plan on hitting at least 100 of those before the primary, because I can't think of a better way to learn about the needs of the people in this district than by being out into their homes and in their communities talking with them about the issues. So the two things that I've got going for me that David Young doesn't have: a better record in helping Iowans get what they want, with my work in state government, helping to bring in good-paying jobs to the people that live here, giving a voice to those who don't have a seat at the table. By the way, saving millions in taxpayer dollars and holding government accountable while doing that. Things David Young isn't doing out in Washington. So I plan on making sure that every single person understands the difference between David Young and I is that I understand our struggles. I'm a small business owner, a mom of 2 teenage boys, a 5th-generation Iowan who understands the struggles that we face here on a daily basis. And David Young sure doesn't. He's spent his life out in Washington. You know, my parents taught me at a really young age the values that have stuck with me to this day. They taught me to take care of other people. I saw my dad give the coat off his back, not once, not twice, but many times in a snowstorm for somebody who needed it. And it's those values that led me to a life of giving back. Whether it was volunteering with seniors, or mentoring college students, or fighting for all-day kindergarten, these are the values that I'll bring to Congress. This is a 2-year job, and we need somebody who can hit the ground running. We need to send somebody to Congress who understands how to solve complex problems and understands and has the experience and the leadership in getting those done. And we need to send a fighter to Washington, somebody who's going to stand up for what's right and not back down until we get the job done. So I ask for your voice and your vote, because together we can bring hope and opportunity to this district and to this state and to this country once again. Thank you.
A really great question, because the point that matters is it is a tough fight. You know, and in 25 years of organizing, I've been a part of a few tough fights. Not too far from where we are right now, 20 years ago, I was on a team that elected Leonard Boswell as the first Democratic freshman incumbent congressman in Iowa in 10 years. A few years later, I was on the team that elected Tom Vilsack, the first Democratic governor in a generation. A little while after that, I was on the team that elected Chet Culver as the first Democrat to follow a Democrat in 70 years to Terrace Hill. And very recently, I had the great honor to be not just in Iowa, but in 6 different states working for Bernie Sanders, winning in places that they said we couldn't win, and winning by big margins in places that they said we couldn't win in. So I think that I picked up a few things along the way on how you can win tough races. Because I've done it before, I've been part of great teams that have done it before, and I've taken it a little bit of each of those teams with me each place I go. But the other thing that I think is important, if we're going to win in the fall, is we've got to stand for a bold, progressive agenda. I think we cannot nuance issues anymore. We as Democrats have to not just try to win elections, we have to try to win the future. We can't just talk about college affordability. We have to talk about universal college tuition for anyone who's earned it. And those are the type of things we should be talking about from one end of this district to the other. We can't just talk about any longer a living wage and nuance that issue. That discussion starts at $15 an hour. Because as Democrats and progressives, we should be standing for the simple but true idea that any person who works 40 hours a week should be able to live in dignity, and so should their family, regardless of where they live. And finally, because I think it is the issue of our time, we need to say it's not just enough to say we need affordable health care for everyone. We need a Medicare for all system that will take the single greatest social program in the history of the world that Democrats did because we were bold and expand it. It's not a radical idea. Right now, a second generation of seniors are living in dignity that didn't have that chance before. We can do that as Democrats. Now, I'm proud to have the Nurses United Union, and I'm proud to have our revolution, and I'm proud to have Bernie Sanders supporting me in this race for Congress. But I'm also proud that 2 out of the last 3 Democratic Party chairs support my race. I'm proud of the state legislators that support my candidacy. And I'm proud to say that my counterpart on the Hillary Clinton campaign supports my candidacy for Congress. I'm uniquely qualified to bring both wings of this party together quicker, and while doing it, talk about the bold, progressive agenda that if we stand together, again, we can make the will of the people the law of this land. Thank you.
You know, the past doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. The Koch brothers are just robber barons. Betsy DeVos, she's a robber baron. She bought that job. I'm going to quote Upton Sinclair for a second. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon him not understanding it. That's Dave Young, folks. He's a nice, hollow man. I can walk through his policy positions and tell you which check he took to explain it. New Year's Eve. I'm sure most of you guys are enjoying time with your family. That New Year's Eve, he took a $2,500 check from ExxonMobil. Do you think he's going to be for climate change when he took that check? He took I'm opposing the Bayer-Monsanto merger. A month after that, he took $5,000 from Monsanto. He took another, I think, almost $8,000 from Walmart last year. It's paycheck, it's corporate money after corporate money after corporate money. This message is how you defeat him. You call out that hollowness. But in order to do that, you cannot take that other check. You cannot bite that hand that feeds you. So, also, if I'm fortunate enough to earn your support, the next 2 years are going to require some of the most oversight we've ever needed as a country. As a congressional member, you are allocated 15 staffers. The U.S. Department of Treasury, for context, employs 100,000 people. The robber barons are running amok in there, and you have to be laser focused on that. If there's anything I bring to this race is my expertise. I've already called out the Iowa Farm Bureau, which, by the way, the Iowa Farm Bureau is what a lot of the reasons why there's problems up on the Capitol. As I think Cindy mentioned earlier, look at what's happening on all the bills being introduced. They gutted the Leopold Center last year. Why? The Leopold Center exists to preserve our soil. And you gut that at the last minute? How vindictive are you? Their executive alone earned $800,000 in the last tax return. They don't oppose this Bayer-Monsanto merger. I went through their corporate tax filings and saw, they own millions of dollars of investments. They're putting their investment portfolio ahead of farmers. On top of that, they have no position on climate change. Want to guess why? millions of dollars at ExxonMobil and Shell. And there's been no comment from them on this. This type of oversight I want to take to DC for you. I want you to know that you can trust me that I will be going through Perry, looking at what Tyson's doing to these workers. Because what's happening now with this concentration is our local news has been hollowed out. These reporters are asked to do more and more with less and less. Facebook and Google are sucking up the ad revenue, by the way, hiding that all offshore. I used to be a tax economist, so I wish I had that tax question. But then these papers don't have those resources to do that digging. That's a really big, scary thing for our democracy. I'm almost out of time, but the last thing is, Trump's rhetoric is hitting a point, and where our economy is growing. I'm really concerned right now with the state of our economy. And if Fed interest rates at zero, what are we going to do when the next recession comes? Let's tackle this root cause so another Trump doesn't come along. I hope during your vote. Thank you so much.
Up next is Teresa Greenfield. We're going to do Teresa.
The greatest, I'm sorry.
Teresa Greenfield will be next. Thanks.
You know, as I said in the beginning, I got in this race because hardworking families are getting the short end of the stick. And I'm from a hardworking family. I am a farm girl. I am a mother of 4 children, and I've worked in small businesses and run small businesses my whole life. And I'll tell you what, hardworking families are struggling every day to make ends meet. All around this district, I talk to people who really are wondering, do they pay their rent? Do they buy prescription drugs? I know seniors who are struggling to stay in their apartments, getting help from their children. And every mother out there is worrying about her kids have a better life, have the skills and the training to get a job and earn a living wage. So I'll be fighting for those things when I'm in Washington, D.C. But I'll tell you what else. I'm also a small business person. I mean Main Street kind of small business. I work for a company, we have 9 employees. And I know you have to remain profitable because I sign paychecks every 2 weeks, and that means I provide jobs. And David Young doesn't know the first thing about running a small business, remaining profitable, and providing jobs. He knows how to line the pockets of wealthy donors and corporations. And finally, as a mother of 4, I know what it's like to sit and struggle with a child that has a brain injury, struggle as a single mom with 2 kids at one point in my life. And those are things David Young doesn't know. We need to elect leaders that share our values, that have walked in our shoes, and that when they go to Washington, D.C., they won't forget the lessons of their lives. Because I will tell you what, the issues will come and go. Every 2 years, there'll be another policy fight or something that we care about that makes people's lives better, that we're going to fight for. But we have to elect people that have our character and have our strength. So this election is going to be about contrast. David Young, he doesn't understand Iowans. He understands big money. David Young's never raised a family, never run a small business. He doesn't know anything about the lives you have. And we've got to get out and talk about that message. And finally, I would say this fight is also about our Democratic Party. It's not just about beating David Young. It's about taking back who we are and leading to the future. Now, I can't do it alone. I need your help, I need your vote, and I need your support. And so please go stick around. I'd love to meet you. Go out to greenfieldforcongress.com, learn a little bit more about me, and let's sign up together and defeat David Young this fall.
I can beat David Young because I'm a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. And my mentor is here in the audience today. I've been in the ministry for 40 years in the Methodist Church and the United Church of Christ. So all I've done is work in social services and for the betterment of humanity. And my mentor is here, Reverend Gil Dawes. I don't know if you know him, but you should. He's a tremendous guy. And that's what I'm worried about, is that we're letting money buy our elections. And I don't think our primary is any different. In their defense, Eddie Morrow and Teresa Greenfield looked at my total money, and it was only $10,000. And Teresa was over $200,000, and Eddie over $180,000. And they thought, we don't need people in the debate that don't have that enough money to win. So they were going to cut Austin and me out of future debates. I think that's a mistake, and I don't think you should vote for people that are more interested in money than they are in people. My favorite quote is from Eugene Debs. He said, "As long as there's a lower class, I'm in it. As long as there's a criminal element, I am a part of it. And as long as anyone is in prison, I am not free." I think that sums it up. So what I plan to do that I don't think any of the other candidates do is free food for Americans that are hungry, free clothing for people that don't have enough clothing, free housing for people that need housing and can't get it. Those are socialist principles, and you can decide whether you want to put business people into office that are going to echo business concerns, or somebody that cares about the welfare of the poor and downtrodden in our country, especially if they're members of our district, and make sure that they can succeed. So we take that mental health center, that federal mental health center in every county. We also make it a warehouse for food, clothing, and registration for free housing. And it's a one-stop federal spot in your county and in every other one of the 16 in our district to provide the things that human beings are entitled to. This is the richest country in the world, in the history of the world. We can afford to do it, believe me. With your support, we can get it done. Thank you.
You know, I'm sorry, Paul. We probably should have a conversation, because I'm not aware of anybody that would ask either of you guys not to be part of these debates. I've enjoyed running around this district with you to this day. And if a member of my team has done that, they'll be terminated before we get back to Des Moines tonight. Thank you, College Dems, and Simpson College again for having us. You've ended this day with a great question, because David Young has kicked our ass the last 2 times out. And it's going to take a new kind of Democrat with a special kind of campaign, a special kind of message coming from a special kind of messenger to beat him in 2018. And I'm here because I know I'm that guy. You see, we beat David Young and win this seat when we define who he is, his actions and inactions, and how they've impacted hardworking Iowans of every degree, how he's turned his back on our kids, our schools, our teachers, our future, how he's attempted to deny access to health care to hardworking Iowans, women the right to control their own destiny, how he's been silent on the hateful, discriminatory, racist rhetoric that comes from Donald Trump. He has no answers for a 21st century economy, nor for our climate and environmental challenges in front of us. But it can't just be about David Young. It has to be what we can do. We can do. The Morrow campaign is going to fight hard for 21st century jobs, meaningful, rewarding jobs in a 21st century economy. A 21st century education strategy that mirrors that economy. 21st century health care to make sure everybody has coverage in this country. And we will tackle the climate and environmental challenges in front of us. We also win this seat with the campaign of inclusion. I will, like everybody else, has been working very hard running across this district from end to end, north to south and east to west. I'll continue to do that. We're not winning this just in Polk County. We're going to win this by appealing to our rural voters and our rural communities. We're going to win this seat by not just applying to one demographic. We need to make sure we are bringing in men as well as women, black as well as white, gay as well as straight, rich as well as poor, and every other degree that's out there. We win this seat, not with the legacy of last year. This isn't the party of Bernie, the party of Hillary, or the party of establishment. This is the party of the people. Party of FDR, the party of the Kennedys, the party of Clinton, the party of Obama, the party of Bernie, and many others. We win this seat with a team effort. I hope you're all ready to play, because we need all of you. If we do our duty, if we meet our obligations, this can be the generation that gets us back on track, to hope and not fear, to love and not hate, to truth and not deception, to peace and not war. And if we do that, my dear brothers and sisters, this is the country that will take us forward again. This will be the generation that takes us forward again. EddieMorrow.com. Go like me on Facebook. Go follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm going to try to get a Snapchat account for you guys to do that. Let's move this country forward together. Thank you, and God bless you.
Let's give another round of applause for all the candidates coming out tonight.